going to a public meeting on the Nuclear Waste Management Organization's proposal to build a underground deep geological repository for nuclear waste in the province.
We were established in 2002. The federal government passed the Nuclear Fuel Waste Act, and it required that Canada's nuclear electricity producers, Ontario Power Generation, Hydro-Quebec, and New Brunswick Power, to set up an independent not-for-profit corporation to consult Canadians broadly about different options for how we might manage the waste over the long term.
And it will take about 1 million a year for radioactivity of used fuel to reach the levels of natural uranium. So this repository is designed to isolate and contain used fuel for 1 million a year.
How did Saskatchewan get involved?
Saskatchewan is in by virtue of the uranium. It's the beginning of the nuclear fuel cycle.
What does responsible action today look like in terms of factoring in the needs of future generations? And adaptive waste management was really one key output from this big dialogue of how to best discharge our responsibility to future generations, to maintain the ability to manage the fuel in the near term, but to be moving towards a long-term management approach that doesn't require the care of future generations, the active care of future generations, and is passively safe.
Passively safe, is it? We don't have to actively keep managing it?
That's right, yeah.
Okay. So it's down there, you leave it there.
That's right.
I'm from Beauval, Saskatchewan, and we are on our 7,000 generation walk from Pinehouse, Saskatchewan, to the legislature in Regina. It's probably close to 900 kilometers. It's 830 or 40 some, but we've had to walk down to rivers and into the communities, and so we've added it up, and it's probably closer to 900. We started in Pinehouse on day one. We went from Pinehouse to Beauval, and then on day two, we went from Beauval to Green Lake. We met a contingency of people that came from La Loche down, gave us flags, walked with us to Green Lake. Once we got to Green Lake, we were met by a group of people from Flying Dust Reserve, from Meadow Lake area. They met us in Green Lake. Then we went to Cowan River, which is between Green Lake and Big River. We had 2 days of long walking. We took a rest there. Then we continued. We walked from Cowan River to Big River, from Big River to Debden, from Debden to Shellbrook, and Shellbrook to PA. PA, we had a rally. From PA, we went to Duck Lake to Batoche, Batoche to Osler. Osler, we were met by wonderful people at the Mennonite church there. They fed us and billeted us out, and it was wonderful. We've had wonderful people supporting us as we've been passing this message on. From Osler, we walked to Saskatoon. Saskatoon, we walked to Dundurn. Dundurn, we walked to Radisson. Radisson, we walked to Craig. And today we're walking to, I think, Bethune, or maybe a little bit further. Today's walk is one of the longest ones. What we're doing is trying to get a message across to the people of Saskatchewan that NWMO, which is the Nuclear Waste Management Company or organization, has targeted 3 northern communities to, in their selection process for a nuclear waste storage site. And we didn't feel that one community should make that decision for the whole province, because if there was ever an accident, the whole province's ecosystem, watershed would be affected, depending on the size of the catastrophe. If you look at the oil sands, if you look at the pipeline, if you look at any of those industries, anything that has been manipulated, worked with, constructed by humans, they have had accidents. Nothing is 100% fail-safe. So we cannot afford to have this very, very toxic radioactive waste material getting into our underground waterways. You know, it would involve transporting over 18,000 truckfuls of these rods across from Ontario all the way across Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and up north. So trucks have accidents all the time. These radioactive rods, the spent fuel that's in them remains radioactive for hundreds of thousands of years. So thus the name 7,000 generations. This isn't something that, you know, will just go away. All of those generations of children will live with the fear that something could or may happen. We don't know if something would happen in 20 years, 50 years, 100 years, 1,000 years, 50,000 years. It doesn't matter. We hopefully, as a species, as humans, will remain on this earth. Traditionally, it is our job, our obligation, to keep the land in good condition or better during our lifetime. So personally, I'm doing this for my children, my grandchildren, and the ones that aren't born yet. And as an educator, I think that I'm obligated to educate.
I am from the English River First Nation, a member of the English River First Nation, one of the communities that's targeted for the storage of nuclear waste, because we are from closest to the Precambrian Shield. The three communities targeted is Craig, Pinehouse, and English River First Nation. This is why I joined this group of walkers, because I don't want that stuff buried in my backyard.
Have they asked you directly?
No, nobody's come to me, but I know that my band members, the people that make up the band members, have not been, as far as I know, have not been consulted to have that stuff buried in their backyard. But I know that the English River First Nation, the elected representatives, the elected people are the ones that are for the storage of nuclear waste.
Is that right?
It's not the people; it's the people that are elected that agreed to a storing of nuclear waste.
And why do you think that they're interested in it?
Money is always, monetary value is more important to them than the future generations. There's always been accidents. Take Japan, for instance. They said Japan was safe. And look what happened. Mind you, we're not in the earthquake zone, but there's always the possibility of some sort of action take place. You never know. You never know. Accidents may happen. Accidents will happen. They always do. And that's why I joined this walk, to make it, to send a message to my leaders loud and clear. I'm one band member that is against it, totally against it.
Taking into account, we've respected the views of people, and people's views have affected our decision making.
What do you think? We just had the UDP consultation process, which was separate from this, but in that process there was a proposal to support a willing community, sort of similar to what you're saying here, you need a willing community to come in, and the majority of people in that consultation said they didn't want a nuclear waste proposal. So with that consultation that's already occurred, the reports come out, how come this is still happening in Saskatchewan. Did you take a look at that?
This is happening in Saskatchewan because this is a very separate process, and Canadians broadly told us that we should engage people we should focus our efforts in engaging people in the nuclear provinces, which are Saskatchewan, New Brunswick, Ontario, and Quebec. Citizens here have a right and an expectation to have their views known on the process that is going to be selected or finalized, I guess, for selecting a site. Citizens have a right and expectation to have their views known, and that's why we're here.
So did you have a look at that report, the Parents Committee?
Yeah, not in any great detail, but certainly I've had a look at the report, yes. And our organization has had a look at the report.
How does that fit into the decision-making process?
It's a separate process. It was on separate issues, and it's
same issue, nuclear waste storage.
Right. It's a report to the government. It's advice to the government of Saskatchewan, and I'm not going to comment on a decision that's rightfully a decision of the government of Saskatchewan or the people of Saskatchewan. I'm here asking people. We have a process that we're proposing for selecting a site for a deep geological repository. Is our proposal a good proposal? Can it work? Where does it lack? How can it be improved? And that's basically what we're doing here today, and what we've been doing here the last several months.
Okay, so the Parents report doesn't take us out of the running. We're still...
No, we were in 2002 established, long before report was published, and our project will last 100 years or more. It will go on long after.
Thank you very much.
And we're walking from Pinehouse to Regina, and we're going to get a petition going, and we're going to get it all signed, and we're going to take it to the government and tell them that Saskatchewan needs to say no, wants to say no. We don't feel this is a decision for one or two communities and their leadership to decide for the people. Within those very communities, there are people that don't want it. Over half of the people in Pinehouse Lake don't want it. And we tell them that, and they won't go away. We started walking on July 27th after a forum the day before in Pinehouse. And we've been looked after that way all the way, and we've been blessed with having people of Saskatchewan host us and look after us and honor us, and we are so honored to do it for you.
We are going to let them know what our agenda is and what the people of Saskatchewan want. Banned against nuclear waste storage in Saskatchewan, anywhere in Saskatchewan, or the transportation in, through, or out of Saskatchewan.
This is about water. Just want to remind you, right now we're standing on cement. Under there's ground. Under there is a water table that connects us. So What we've done from Pinehouse is collected water right from the lake, from ground zero where we started walking. And we've collected this water from every stream and river that we cross, every bridge, and from every community. And this water's been presented to us from every community that we came to with respect. And the symbolism of this water is that we're connected. We're all united by water. Our water is your water. It's all one Saskatchewan. That's what it symbolizes, one Saskatchewan. I'm going to end by saying what Big Bear said. I cannot say it in verbatim, but do we have to wait until our skies are polluted, our land, the last tree is cut down, and the last fish is poisoned to find out that money is no good?
We'd like to present a document to the Chief of Staff, Cam Baker.
Congratulations, it's quite an accomplishment. You've come a very long way.
Thank you.
Like we looked at a wide range of other options that included shooting the waste to space, dumping it in the sea, putting it in subduction zones under the oceans.
If you don't have any plan for this stuff, stop producing it now, phase out and not ship it off to some northern area that you think is unoccupied. Because that's colonial waste management.
But I'm frustrated as a taxpayer that they're using our own money to continue to try and convince Saskatchewan in particular, to cite, waste management here. And for me, I know we're part of the uranium fuel cycle and stuff, but I think that as a Green Party person should be phased out, and that those people, those provinces that are using nuclear power right now, they should be the ones that are responsible for the waste. Ideally, from what I know, Greenpeace says that the waste should stay, on site and above board. They shouldn't be dumping it into some hole, no matter how safe, the NWMO says it is. And I tend to agree with them. I think it should be a monumental, site that shows the folly, that nuclear reactors and nuclear power is, instead of burying it somewhere up north or out of the communities that can see it.
We are Soto, we are Northerners, we are Southerners, we are urban and we are rural, we are First Nations, we are Métis, we are Christian, we are Muslim, we are traditional Aboriginal. Why are we together all here today? No matter where we come from in this province, we came from the land.
And then NWMO came in with a bunch of money, and they had an elders gathering. They sponsored an elders gathering, and they asked our elders to come and see what we could do about suicide prevention. And then about 2 hours into the session, they started to be about nuclear waste dumps and their vision for our north and our Saskatchewan. At this point, several of the elders from Pinehouse walked out, as did our elder from Beauval, because that's not about suicide prevention. And then we started to hear more, and we wanted to know more, and we needed to know what was going on with nuclear waste. So we started to organize, and as Debbie said, they put on a forum, invited up Jim Harding, and over 200 people from 12 communities across the north came and showed up. NWMO wouldn't show. They wouldn't tell us. So we presented it ourselves. We presented NWMO's information from videos they had out and were using to promote the idea. And we provided the other side, the risks, the dangers. It was overwhelming, the response from those 200 people. We don't want it in Saskatchewan.